Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Right here in Hythe, Kent, southeast England, just near the English Channel. On this Tuesday, 25th of January, 2022, which means that almost 1/12 of the year is already passed, which is incredible. We were just talking about it before we came on air, how fast time seems to be moving. Time doesn't move any differently. It's always the same, but it seems to, because the pace of human life is so fast now compared to the pace of human life before the evolution of technology. And also there's something about, as you get older, it seems to go faster, although it's the same. And I'm realizing how little time I have left, actually, to finish the audiobooks I'm planning to do for the BBT, the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, all 18 chapters, all volumes, all 12 cantos. Okay, but here we are. Made it to another day, and I think I'll start saying the days from now on in the beginning to make it more a chronicle. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami gives a very beautiful glorification of the Bhagavatam, and in the verses themselves it also describes why we're doing what we're doing every day. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems, of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Purāṇa Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho Kali Dvandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshak Shadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madgudo Man Mahadana Man Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chochata kada hanamun jagadachin mam premna rit kantayokspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, We've reached the ninth canto of the ninth chapter, of the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And Bhīṣma is passing away from this world. And after bringing himself to a state of trance, pain is gone. He's no longer in his body, but he's still there. Well, he's no longer identified with the body at all, but he's still there. And we're right in the middle of these touching prayers that he offers to Krishna and to all the rest of us, actually, before he departs. Text 38. May he, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who awards salvation, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me, as if angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was scattered, and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds. Purport. The dealings of Lord Krishna and Bhīṣmadeva on the battlefield of Kurukshetra are interesting because the activities of Lord Sri Krishna appear to be partial to Arjuna and at enmity with Bhīṣmadeva. But factually, all this was especially meant to show special favor to Bhīṣmadeva, a great devotee of the Lord. The astounding feature of such dealings is that a devotee can please the Lord by playing the part of an enemy. The Lord, being absolute, can accept service from his pure devotee even in the garb of an enemy. The Supreme Lord cannot have any enemy, nor can a so-called enemy harm him, because he is ajita, or unconquerable. But still, he takes pleasure when his pure devotee beats him like an enemy or rebukes him from his superior position, although no one can be superior to the Lord. These are some of the transcendental reciprocatory dealings of the Lord. These are some of the transcendental reciprocatory dealings of the Lord, of the devotee with the Lord. And those who have no information of pure devotional service cannot penetrate into the mystery of such dealings. Bhīṣmadeva played the part of a valiant warrior, and he purposely pierced the body of the Lord so that to the common eyes it appeared that the Lord was wounded. But factually, all this was to bewilder the non-devotees. The Lord's all-spiritual body cannot be wounded, and the devotee cannot become the enemy of the Lord. Had it been so, Bhīṣmadeva would not have desired to have the very same Lord as the ultimate destination of his life. Had Bhīṣmadeva been an enemy of the Lord, Lord Krishna could have annihilated him without even moving. There would have been no need to come before Bhīṣmadeva with blood and wounds. But he did so because the warrior devotee wanted to see the transcendental beauty of the Lord decorated with wounds created by a pure devotee. This is the way of exchanging transcendental rasa, or relations, between the Lord and the servitor. By such dealings, both the Lord and the devotee become glorified in their respective positions. The Lord was so angry that Arjuna checked him when he was moving towards Bhīṣmadeva, but in spite of Arjuna's checking, he proceeded towards Bhīṣmadeva as a lover goes to a lover without caring for hindrances. Apparently, his determination was to kill Bhīṣmadeva, but factually, it was to please him, a great devotee of the Lord. The Lord is undoubtedly the deliverer of all conditioned souls. The impersonalists desire salvation from him, and he always awards them according to their aspiration. But here, Bhīṣmadeva prays that the ultimate destination of his life be the Lord in his personal feature. All pure devotees aspire for this. Text 39. At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind on Arjuna's chariot driver, who stood with a whip in his right hand and his bridle rope in his left, and who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord constantly sees the presence of the Lord within himself because of being transcendentally related by loving service. Such a pure devotee cannot forget the Lord for a moment. This is called trance. The mystic yogi tries to concentrate upon the supersoul by restraining the senses from all other engagements, and thus he ultimately attains samadhi. A devotee more easily attains samadhi or trance by constantly remembering the Lord's personal feature along with his holy name, fame, pastimes, and so on. Therefore, the concentration of the mystic yogi and that of the devotee are not on the same level. The concentration of the mystic yogi is mechanical, whereas that of the pure devotee is natural in pure love and spontaneous affection. Bhīṣmadeva was a pure devotee, and as a military marshal, he constantly remembered the battlefield feature of the Lord as Partha Sarathi, the chariot driver of Arjuna. Therefore, the Lord's pastime as Partha Sarathi is also eternal. The pastimes of the Lord, beginning with his birth at the prison house of Kamsa, up to the Maushala Lila at the end, all move one after another in all the universes, just as the clock hand moves from one point to another. And in such pastimes, his associates like the Pandavas and Bhīṣma are constant, eternal companions. So Bhīṣmadeva never forgot the beautiful feature of the Lord as Parthasarathi, which even Arjuna could not see. Arjuna was behind the beautiful Parthasarathi, while Bhīṣmadeva was just in front of the Lord. As far as the military feature of the Lord is concerned, Bhīṣmadeva observed this with more relish than Arjuna. All the soldiers and other persons on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual forms after their death because by the causeless mercy of the Lord they were able to see him face to face on that occasion. The conditioned souls rotating in the evolutionary cycle from the aquatics up to the form of Brahma are all in the form of Maya, or the form obtained by one's own actions and awarded by material nature. The material forms of the conditioned souls are all foreign dresses, and when the conditioned soul becomes liberated from the clutches of the material energy, he attains his original spiritual form like the Lord's. The impersonalist wants to attain the impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Lord, but that is not at all congenial to the living sparks, parts and parcels of the Lord. Therefore, the impersonalists again fall down and get material forms, which are all false to the spirit soul. A spiritual form like the Lord's, either two-handed or four-handed, is attained by the devotees of the Lord, either in the Vaikunthas or in the Goloka planet, according to the original nature of the soul. This form, which is cent% spiritual, is the Sarupa of a living being, and all the living beings who participated on the battlefield of Kurukshetra on both sides attained their Sarup as confirmed by Bhīṣmadeva. So Lord Sri Krishna was not merciful only to the Pandavas, he was also merciful to the other parties, because all of them attained the same result. Bhīṣmadeva wanted the same facility also, and that was his prayer to the Lord, although his position as an associate of the Lord is assured in all circumstances. The conclusion is that whoever dies looking on the personality of Godhead, within or without, attains his Sarup, which is the highest perfection of life. Text 40. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Brajadam, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance. Text purport. By intense ecstasy and loving service, the damsels of Brajabhumi attained qualitative oneness with the Lord by dancing with him on an equal level, embracing him in nuptial love, smiling at him in joke, and looking at him with a loving attitude. The relation of the Lord with Arjuna is undoubtedly praiseworthy for devotees like Bhīṣmadeva, but the relation of the gopis with the Lord is still more praiseworthy because of their still more purified loving service. By the grace of the Lord, Arjuna was fortunate enough to have the fraternal service of the Lord as chariot driver. But the Lord did not award Arjuna with equal strength. The gopis, however, practically became one with the Lord by attainment of equal footing with the Lord. Bhishma's aspiration to remember the gopis is a prayer to have their mercy also at the last stage of his life. The Lord is satisfied more when his pure devotees are glorified, and therefore Bhīṣmadeva has not only glorified the acts of the gopis, who were endowed with unrivaled opportunities for rendering loving service to the Lord. The gopis' equality with the Lord should never be misunderstood, like the Sayuja liberation of the impersonalist. The equality is one of perfect ecstasy, where the differential conception is completely eradicated, for the interests of the lover and the beloved become identical. Text 41. At the Rajasuya Yajna sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders, and in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remember the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. Purport. After gaining victory in the battle of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira, the emperor of the world, performed the Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. The emperor, in those days upon his ascendance to the throne, would send a challenge horse all over the world to declare his supremacy, and any ruling prince or king was at liberty to accept the challenge and express his tacit willingness either to obey or disobey the supremacy of the particular emperor. One who accepted the challenge had to fight with the emperor and establish his own supremacy by victory. The defeated king would have to sacrifice his life, making a place for another king or ruler. So Maharaj Yudhishthira also dispatched such challenging horses all over the world, and every ruling prince and king all over the world accepted Maharaj Yudhishthira's leadership as the emperor of the world. After this, all the rulers of the world under the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira were invited to participate in the great sacrificial ceremony of Rajasuya. Such performances required hundreds of millions of dollars, and it was not an easy job for a petty king. Such a sacrificial ceremony, being too expensive and also difficult to perform under present circumstances, is now impossible in this age of Kali. Nor can anyone secure the required expert priesthood to take charge of the ceremony. So after being invited, all the kings and great learned sages of the world assembled in the capital of Maharaj Yudhishthira. The learned society, including the great philosophers, religionists, physicians, scientists, and all great sages, was invited. That is to say, the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas were the topmost leading men in society, and they were all invited to participate in the assembly. The Vaishyas and Shudras were unimportant elements of society, and they are not mentioned herein. Due to the change of social activities in the modern age, the importance of men has also changed in terms of occupational positions. So in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was a cynosure of neighboring eyes. Everyone wanted to see Lord Krishna, and everyone wanted to pay his humble respects to the Lord. Bhīṣmadeva remembered all this and was glad that his worshipable Lord, the personality of Godhead, was present before him in his actual formal presence. So to meditate on the Supreme Lord is to meditate on the activities, form, pastimes, name, and fame of the Lord. That is easier than what is imagined as meditation on the impersonal feature of the Supreme. In the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is clearly stated that to meditate upon the impersonal feature of the Supreme is very difficult. It is practically no meditation, or simply a waste of time, because very seldom is the desired result obtained. The devotees, however, meditate upon the Lord's factual form and pastimes, and therefore the Lord is easily approachable by the devotees. This is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita 12.8. The Lord is non-different. The Lord is non-different from his transcendental activities. It is indicated also in this shloka that Lord Sri Krishna, while actually present before human society, especially in connection with the battle of Kurukshetra, was accepted as the greatest personality of the time, although he might not have been recognized as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The propaganda that a very great man is worshipped as God after his death is misleading, because a man after his death cannot be made into God. Nor can the personality of Godhead be a human being, even when he is personally present. Both ideas are misconceptions. The idea of anthropomorphism cannot be applicable in the case of Lord Krishna. text 42. Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord, Sri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna is the one, absolute, Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he has expanded himself into his multi-plenary portions and multi-differentiated portions by his inconceivable energy. The conception of duality is due to ignorance of his inconceivable energy. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, the Lord says that only the foolish take him to be a mere human being. Such foolish men are not aware of his inconceivable energies. By his inconceivable energy, he is present in everyone's heart, as the sun is present before everyone all over the world. The Paramatma feature of the Lord is an expansion of his plenary portions. He expands himself as Paramatma in everyone's heart by his inconceivable energy. And he also expands himself as the glowing effulgence of Brahmajyoti by expansion of his personal glow. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that the Brahmajyoti is his personal glow. Therefore, there is no difference between him and his personal glow, Brahmajyoti, or his plenary portions as Paramatma. Less intelligent persons who are not aware of this fact consider Brahmajyoti and Paramatma to be different from Lord Krishna, from Sri Krishna. This misconception of duality is completely removed from the mind of Bhīṣmadeva. And now he is satisfied that it is Lord Sri Krishna only who is all in everything. This enlightenment is attained by the great Mahatmas or devotees, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19. The devotees realize that Vasudeva is all in everything, and that there is no existence of anything without Vasudeva. Vasudeva, or Lord Sri Krishna, is the original Supreme Person, and as now confirmed by Bhīṣmadeva. Since Bhīṣmadeva is one of the 12 Mahajans, or great authorities, both the neophytes and the pure devotees must try to follow in his footsteps. That is the way of the devotional line. The worshipable object of Bhīṣmadeva is Lord Sri Krishna as Parata Sarati, and that of the gopis is the same Krishna in Vrindavan. The worshipable object of Bhīṣmadeva is Lord Sri Krishna as Parthasarthi, and that of the gopis is the same Krishna in Vrindavan as the most attractive Shyamasundar. Sometimes less intelligent scholars make a mistake and think that the Krishna of Vrindavan and that of the Battle of Kurukshetra are different personalities. But for Bhīṣmadeva, this conception is completely removed. Even the impersonalist objects of destination is Krishna as the impersonal Jyoti. And the yogi's destination of Paramatma is also Krishna. Krishna is both Brahmajyoti and localized Paramatma. But Brahmajyoti and Paramatma are not full representations of Krishna. In Krishna, there are both Brahmajyoti and Paramatma. But in Brahmajyoti or Paramatma, there is no Krishna or sweet relations with Krishna. In his personal feature as Krishna, Krishna is both Parthasarathi and Shyamasundar of Vrindavan. But only in his impersonal feature is he the Brahmajyoti and the Paramatma. Great Mahatmas like Bhīṣmadeva, I'll read that again to make it more clear. In his personal feature, he is both Parthasarathi and Shyamasundar of Vrindavan. But only in his impersonal feature is he the Brahmajyoti and the Paramatma. Great Mahatmas like Bhīṣmadeva realize all these different features of Lord Sri Krishna, and therefore they worship Lord Krishna with one pointed attention, knowing him as the origin of all features. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What a purport. What a purport. Text 43. Sutta Goswami said, thus Bhīṣmadeva merged himself in the Supersoul, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent, and his breathing stopped. Purport. The stage attained by Bhīṣmadeva while quitting his material body is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, because he merged his self into thinking of the Lord by engaging his mind in remembering the Lord's different activities, his speech in chanting the glories of the Lord, and his sight in seeing the Lord personally present before him. Thus all his activities became concentrated upon the Lord without deviation. This is the highest stage of perfection, and it is possible for everyone to attain this stage by practice of devotional service. The devotional service of the Lord consists of 9 principles of service activities, and they are 1. Hearing, 2. Chanting, 3. Remembering, 4. Serving the lotus feet, 5. Worshipping, 6. Praying, 7. Executing the orders, 9. Fraternizing, and 8. Fraternizing, and 9. Fully surrendering. Any one of them, or all of them, are equally competent to award the desired result, but they require to be practiced persistently under the guidance of an expert devotee of the Lord. The first item, hearing, is the most important item of all, and therefore hearing the Bhagavad Gita and later on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is essential for the serious candidate who wants to attain the stage of Bhīṣmadeva at the end. The unique situation at Bhīṣmadeva's time of death can be attained even though Lord Krishna may not be personally present. His words of the Bhagavad Gita or those of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are identical with the Lord. They are sound incarnations of the Lord, and one can fully utilize them to be entitled to attain the stage of Sri Bhīṣmadeva, who was one of the 8 Vasus. Every man or animal must die at a certain stage of life, but one who dies like Bhīṣmadeva attains perfection, and one who dies forced by the laws of nature dies like an animal. That is the difference between a man and an animal. The human form of life is especially meant for dying like Bhīṣmadeva. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Text 44. Knowing that Bhīṣmadeva had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent, like birds at the end of the day. Purport. To enter into or become merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute means to enter the original home of the living being. The living beings are all component parts and parcels of the Absolute Personality of Godhead, and therefore they are eternally related with Him as the servitor and the served. The Lord is served by all His parts and parcels, as the complete machine is served by its parts and parcels. Any part of the machine removed from the whole is no longer important. Similarly, any part and parcel of the Absolute detached from the service of the Lord is useless. The living beings who are in the material world are all unintegrated parts and parcels of the Supreme Whole, and they are no longer as important as the original parts and parcels. There are, however, more integrated living beings who are eternally liberated. The material energy of the Lord, called Durga Shakti, or the superintendence of the prison house, takes charge of the unintegrated parts and parcels, and thus they undergo a conditioned life under the laws of material nature. When the living being becomes conscious of this fact, he tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and thus the spiritual urge of the living being begins. This spiritual urge is called Brahma Jigyasa, or inquiry about Brahman. Principally, this Brahma Jigyasa is successful by knowledge, renunciation, and devotional service to the Lord. Jnana, or knowledge, means knowing everything of Brahman, the Supreme. Renunciation means detachment from material affection. And devotional service is the revival, by practice, of the original position of the living being. The successful living beings who are eligible to enter into the realm of the Absolute are called the Jnanis, the Yogis, and the Bhaktas. The Jnanis and Yogis enter into the impersonal rays of the Supreme, but the Bhaktas enter into the spiritual planets known as the Vaikunthas. These spiritual planets, in these spiritual planets, the Supreme Lord as Narayana predominates, and the healthy, unconditioned living beings live there by rendering loving service to the Lord in the capacity of servant, friend, parent, and fiancé. There the unconditioned living beings enjoy life in full freedom with the Lord, whereas the impersonalist Jnanis and Yogis enter into the impersonal, glowing effulgence of the Vaikuntha planets. The Vaikuntha planets are all self-illuminating like the sun, and the rays of the Vaikuntha planets are called the Brahmajyoti. The Brahmajyoti is spread unlimitedly, and the material world is but a covered portion of the insignificant part of the same Brahmajyoti. This covering is temporary, and therefore it is a sort of illusion. Bhīṣmadeva, as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord in his eternal form of Paratasarthi predominates over the unconditioned living beings who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. The love and affection which bind the Lord and the devotee are exhibited in the case of Bhīṣmadeva. Bhīṣmadeva never forgot the Lord in his transcendental feature as Paratasarthi, and the Lord was present personally before Bhīṣmadeva while he was passing to the transcendental world. That is the highest perfection of life. Hare Krishna. So that brings us to 7:50. We're a little late, but it's okay. We started just a little late. Okay, we'll start tomorrow with the text 45. So all the assembled sages, please come forward and offer your reflections and or questions or discussion about what we've heard today. Hare Krishna.
First is from Shantarupa Devi Dasi.
Shantarupa Devi Dasi in Wales. I hope everything is good there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj and assembled devotees, may Krishna allow us to have more of this hearing time together.
So be it.
And from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Haribo, Gopakanya Devi Dasi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, and all the assembled sages. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
And Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati, Hare Krishna.
She says, Jai Guru Maharaj, Jai Bhīṣmadeva.
Jai, Haribo. All glories to Bhīṣmadeva.
And from Vijay Krishna Das.
Haribo, Vijay Krishna.
Is a question. Is there any connection between the sentence, quote, a lover goes to a lover without caring for hindrances, unquote, and the way Srila Prabhupada started his mission in the West? Please.
No, this is a personal relationship. This description is describing the personal relationships between Krishna and his devotees. Srila Prabhupada's coming to the West, it's not the same exactly as a personal relationship with Krishna. It is his it is his relationship with his spiritual master, in the sense that he is executing the order of his spiritual master, and therefore it is an exhibition of his love for his spiritual master. But it's not exactly the same as Bhīṣmadeva, approaching Krishna in the mood of the gopis approaching Krishna. It's not exactly the same. I don't know if I explained that properly, but yeah. The relationship between Bhīṣmadeva and Krishna was personal. It was Bhīṣmadeva going to Krishna. His example or Prabhupada's example as the same as the gopis going to Krishna without consideration of anything else is a personal exchange, an individual personal exchange. But Prabhupada was coming to the West not to go to a lover. He was following the order of his spiritual master, coming to the West to deliver Krishna consciousness to the world on the order of his spiritual master. So to make that connection that you just made is not correct. It's rasabhasa. It's overlapping relationship. It's not correct. Hare Krishna.
From Sudevi Dasi.
Yes, Sudevi Dasi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo.
And from Anjana Gopika,
Anjana Gopika, Hare Krishna.
please accept my respectful obeisances, dear Maharaj.
Haribo, Haribo.
And Anandamurti Devidasi,
Haribo and Anandamurti.
dear Guru Maharaj and all assembled devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
It is amazing that Bhīṣma also remembered the glories of the gopis at the time of death.
Mm. Why should it be amazing? It's not that because Bhīṣmadeva was in the chivalrous rasa that he doesn't know about the gopis and Krishna. It's not that just because we're in one relationship, we're not aware of all of the relationships of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
From Bhakta Rupa,
Haribo Bhakta Rupa.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It's amazing how clearly Krishna is so fully described in the Bhāgavatam.
Mm.
From what I learned in school in Wales, I had the impression that God was a man in the clouds that might answer your prayers if you believe hard enough.
If you're lucky.
The clarity we get by hearing Krishna in his various forms as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan makes so much sense thanks to Srila Prabhupada. It's so satisfying to the mind to hear about Krishna in this way.
Absolutely.
If only we could give such a clear and scientific understanding of Krishna to children in schools, the world would totally transform.
Absolutely. Yeah, and in principle, that's why Srila Prabhupada insisted on our mass distribution of the books. Because it's the most efficient way to reach the most number of people. And one may say, yes, but where are all the devotees? Well, they're out there, and they've got the book, and it's on their shelf, and just the presence of the book is making their house pious. And they get benefit, even if it's just that much. But if they pick it up and read it, Prabhupada said, even if they pick one line and read it, they can take a substantial step forward in devotional service, in devotional life. And over time, all those books, millions, there were 55 million books that had gone out since when Prabhupada left. And now I don't know what the figure is, I can't remember, but it's a very large number of books that have gone out. And they're out there, And Prabhupada used to jokingly say that there's a name on each one of them, because we don't know where they're going to end up. We don't know who's going to end up picking them up and reading them. And therefore, Krishna consciousness will spread generation after generation as people get that extra benefit from having the books around or reading the books. And then they'll be able to, next time they come in contact with the Hare Krishnas and the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, they'll be able to say, yes, right, okay, and then they join. And that's how it expands, that's how it spreads. Hare Krishna.
From Subbarao Rajagopal.
Yes, Subbarao.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you for reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam every day.
Yes, it is a joy. It is the greatest joy.
Your reading of the purports are so illuminating. I remembered this verse. This Bhagavata Purāṇa is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, and so on. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purāṇa. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.3.43. Thank you for reading again.
I remember watching Vaisheshika Prabhu in San Francisco, as soon as he started distributing the books, sliding up to people with the book open and reading that verse. out to anybody and starting his presentation like that. Hare Krishna.
From Gauranga Gopal.
Haribol Gauranga Gopal.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much for reading tonight.
The pleasure is all mine. As we heard, there's 9 aspects of devotional service, and one of them is hearing and the other one's chanting. So by my reading the Bhagavatam and all these books cover to cover out loud, I'm headed towards the perfection. Thank you so much. And hearing, when you read out loud, even to yourself, you're both hearing and chanting. And Prabhupada said in the purport, any one or two or all of them are capable of bringing you to perfection. Hare Krishna.
One thing caught my attention tonight. It says in the purport of verse 43, the first item, hearing, is the most important item of all, and therefore hearing of the Bhagavad Gita and later on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is essential for the serious candidate who wants to attain the stage of Bhīṣmadeva at the end. Unquote.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. Hare Krishna.
I am gradually coming to some realization that hearing is the most important limb of bhakti. There can be no chanting without hearing, and there can be no service to the lotus feet without hearing of how to serve them properly from the Mahajans like Bhīṣmadeva. I often find myself so proud that I can figure out on my own how to act in devotional service independently from the words of my authorities. So I pray that I will be able to get a little humble and hear properly, so I can eventually have the beautiful darshan of the Lord at the end of life, like Bhīṣmadeva.
I just read or heard, a purport in verse by Srila Prabhupada. Maybe it was Gopi Purāṇa commentary. I can't remember, but it talked about how. Oh no, it was in these daily Prabhupada quotes that I receive. Don't remember who the person's name is that does it. But Prabhupada is talking about authority. I wonder if I can find it just really quickly. I might be able to. Archive. Yes. Listen to this. This is Srila Prabhupada. Unfortunately, our disease is that we are rebellious. We automatically resist authority. Yet although we say that we don't want authority, nature is so strong that it forces authority upon us. We are forced to accept the authority of nature. What can be more pathetic than a man who claims to answer to no authority, but who follows his senses blindly wherever they lead him? Our false claim to independence is simply foolishness. We are all under authority, yet we say that we don't want authority. This is called Maya, illusion. We do, however, have a certain independence. We can choose to be under the authority of our senses or the authority of Krishna. The best and ultimate authority is Krishna, for he is our eternal well-wisher, and he always speaks for our benefit. Since we have to accept some authority, why not accept his? It's Prabhupada. Simply by hearing of his glories from the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and by chanting his names, Hare Krishna, we can swiftly perfect our lives. That's called remembrance. Hare Krishna.
From Vilas Manjari.
Jai Vilas Manjari.
The imagery in Bhīṣmadeva's prayers is giving us a beautiful vision of Krishna on the battlefield. It struck me how Srila Prabhupada added to that, explaining that Arjuna was behind Krishna, so he couldn't see the same attractive vision that Bhīṣmadeva saw, and he points out that it is the astounding feature of such dealings. He points it out that the astounding feature of such dealings is that the devotee can please the Lord by playing the part of the enemy. So what I learned from this is, it is pleasing Krishna that is central to the unlimited nectarian dealings between the Lord and his devotees.
Yes. Absolutely. And it's taken one step further in that verse, Yasya Devi Pura Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Garo, that the imports of the Vedas are automatically revealed only to those who have complete faith in Krishna and their spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
And from Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Here was another transcendental hour of education. I marvel at how Srila Prabhupada deals with point after point of philosophical misconception, devotional mellows, future predictions, society's anomalies, like a shower of arrows, flowers, revelations, so many things. It is simply amazing, purifying, transcendental.
Very lovely reflection, Rati. Thank you very much. And therefore, my conclusion is that although there are lots of books and there are lots of far out personalities and things, but Srila Prabhupada's books are unique. They're empowered to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And we can't say that about any other literatures because his books did spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, and no one can do that more than once. I mean, it's continuing to spread, that's true. But still, these books, and Srila Prabhupada, who is none different than his books, or the books who is none different than Srila Prabhupada, are still spreading Krishna consciousness around the world in a way that no other books and no other person, except for the persons who are inspiring him and the persons that are in the books themselves, can do. So therefore, I stick with Srila Prabhupada's books, because as you said very nicely, they deal with all the anomalies and how to deal with them. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, even when it comes to these intimate issues of relationships with Krishna and his devotees and how they exchange them, he still keeps us on track, by his explanations. Hare Krishna. And he emphasizes always devotional service. To do something practical for Krishna and keep mind in that way engaged always in thoughts of Krishna. It's perfect. It's not about me finding out what my relationship with Krishna. It happens automatically when you read these books and your mind goes in the right direction. But the attempt, my own attempt, as we heard from someone else just a few minutes ago, to do this is useless. Because, who are we? What do we know? How can we think about what our relationship is? How can we aspire for a relationship that we don't know yet? But by hearing these books again and again for the rest of our lives, we will by nature be attracted to certain relationships and certain personalities. But it can't be done with our own strength. It's not a mental exercise. It's not a mental activity. It's not even an intellectual activity. It is pure revelation coming from the soul and the super soul to Hare Krishna.
Bhakta Rupa.
Haribo Bhakta Rupa.
I like the lilies on your altar, Maharaj.
Oh yeah, you can thank. Okay, here we go. Memory, please serve me right. I noticed them too, and these were given by a worker in Waitrose, one of the local supermarkets, to Radharaman, just out of the blue. She brought them over to him as a gift. Can you imagine? Mm. And now he gave them to Abai, and now they're on her altar. So this lady who works in, we should remember who that person is, by the way, and go give her a book. Maybe he already has. I don't know, we'll find out. And go give her a book. Hare Krishna. Or get Radharaman to do it if you anyway. Hare Krishna. Thanks for noticing. This is Abhai's daily puja. His daily, he takes every day, he takes every single little item. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. 32 items he takes off the altar every single day and cleans them meticulously, along with and the altar and the cloths, the altar cloths. Well, I guess I have to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more for the cloths. That, my dear devotees, is pure devotional service. And therefore the altar is glorious and effulgent. Priyakun Prabhu came over the other day and he said, it seems like these forms are becoming three-dimensional. I can't understand what's happening. And that's it. Hare Krishna.
One more comment from
everything is connected together by the Super Soul. Hare Krishna.
And from Vilas Manjari.
Yes, Vilas Manjari.
Also, if I can add one more reflection. After Bhīṣmadeva expressed his own loving attraction to Krishna on the battlefield and praised the loving service of the gopis, his final realization is that very same Krishna is in everyone's heart. He overcame all sense of duality and perceived Krishna to be just like the sun, present everywhere but perceived differently. I thought that was amazing. Those were his final words, and so encouraging.
Yes, that is the nature of Mahajan. He gives the ultimate solution. Therefore, that very famous verse, Mahajano yena gata sapanta. The truth is not found in the hearts of the munis, who are always arguing about one thing or another, always trying to become better, more knowledgeable, even in their teachers. But the Mahajan, the truth doesn't come from those activities and those persons. The truth comes from the unalloyed heart of a Mahajan, pure devotee of the Lord. And with that, we'll stop our readings for tonight. Thank you so much. They're just getting better and better. As the Bhagavatam gets better, so do you get better devotees, and your reflections are a reflection of that fact. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same place, same time, same topic. The ever-increasing ecstasy, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, of the ocean of devotional service. See you tomorrow. Hari Bol.